we're doing DMZ, which is all about New York City that's been destroyed by a civil war.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
So it's and people have been evacuated from New York City, and there's some people who said, I'm not going, like anti-vaxxers, right? They're like, I'm not doing it. I don't care what you say. I'm staying right here. And it's about them and how they build a society with what's left. Would you go if there was an evacuation?
It depends on where we had to go.
You just say yes. Has been evacuated.
That's interesting. I mean,
I could stay in Brooklyn though.
Is that?
So like we go to the Caribbean. I'm like, all right, I'm out.
Right.
What would Ava do?
Well, on the outside of the on the outside of New York, there's a war going on. So you have to pick sides where you go, right, in this place. So it's like, are you going to go on the MAGA side or are you going to go on the Bernie Sanders side? I don't.
Well, you're familiar with Ava DuVernay, as we said before. She's done the CW series Naomi with the cancellation on there. But now with what Netflix has been doing, looks like they're reorganizing, changing things around. They're either going woke or not woke. They're telling employees, if you don't like the stuff on our streaming site, just leave, quit. You know, we're not keeping you here if you're not happy with the content here. But the one thing, some of the things that are against, besides a lot of the workers that are being laid off on top of that, which is coming in another story soon, Netflix scrapped several animated projects, including Ava DuVernay's Wings of Fire and Anti-Race Baby. You know, I thought Anti-Race Baby was a joke, was a meme on there, but I can't believe that someone actually was producing something of this nature.
Anti-racist baby is bred, not born. Anti-racist baby is raised to make society transform. Babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. There's no neutrality.
Netflix has pulled the plug on several animated projects, including Wings of Fire from executive producer Ava DuVernay, Anti-Race Baby, a series aimed at preschoolers and with kind regards from kindergarten, a film tailored to youngsters. This itself, folks, before we go any further, is children propaganda. And I think this is what Netflix realized at this point on this. But let's read on. And before I forget, this is from Variety itself. The streaming service has also scrapped Stampede, Racism, Anti-Racism and You, a documentary intended to serve as a companion piece to Stampede from the Beginning, which is a hybrid documentary and scripted features that delves into the race of the United States. Stampede from the Beginning is still moving forward and is currently in post-production. Sources at Netflix stressed that the decisions not to move forward with these projects were creative rather than cost related, meaning that they would have taken place regardless of the company's slower revenue growth. Insiders also note that the animation has a long gestation period than live action, giving comparatively drawn out timelines. It is unusual for movies or television groups to go back into development as a part ways entirely over creative decisions. That may be the case, but the news comes as Netflix has laid off about 150 staffers, roughly 2% of its workforce, in attempt to cost cut after a weak 2022 start. In the first quarter of this year, the company reported a net loss of 200,000 streaming subscribers, which the investors are looking for an investigation because of a lawsuit coming. Its first decline in a decade. Shortly after announcing a dip in subscribers last month, Netflix pink-slipped approximately 25 employees in the marketing group, several who have worked on the Tandem fan-focused content team. Then Netflix announced in April 21 that Wings of Fire, based on 2DT Sutherland's children's book, will be adapted into the original animated 10 series. DuVernay was set to executive produce the show, a fantasy series about a dragon tries at war in generations long battle over a lost treasure. A film version of With Kind Regards from Kindergarten, a darker children's book about two young friends who drift as one of them loses his imagination, has not been publicly announced before, but the animated was scrapped as well. Anti-Race Baby, based on an anti-racist scholar, Dr. Ibram X. Kendi children's book of the same name, was imagined as a series of animated vignettes set to music for preschoolers. Kendi wrote, Stampede Racism, Anti-Racism and You will no longer run in the tandem with adult skewed Stampede from the beginning. Those three projects were being made to examine racism, audience for all ages. Netflix is still investing heavily into animation with Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, Kung Fu Panda, The Dragon Knight, My Daddy, The Bounty Hunter, Gabby Dollhouse, among the film and television works in the studio. Recently, The Mitchells versus the Machines plans to unveil Guillermo del Toro's stop-motion animation version of Pinocchio later this year. I'm sorry to tell you, this is the people they hire, and this is the people they shouldn't be hiring for these networks. You're taking these projects about racism. These are clickbait. They are things that are on that sheet, that TTI sheet that I keep pulling out. These are the things that are just keep bringing out that are no good for children. This is why, people should not, those who are criticizing the rules and regulations in Florida should not be yelling at Florida, because this is the stuff that they're putting out. When you hear anti-racist baby, who are they directing this to? They're directing this to kids, and they should not be doing this.
That I find really quite remarkable. One portion of the book says babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. There is no neutrality. Another portion of the book, they recommend to babies confess when being racist. Now, this is a book that is taught at Georgetown Day School to students in pre-K through second grade, so 4 through 7 years old.
They should not be doing this at all. This is just pure propaganda. And I think Netflix is seeing this outright, because basically they are in deep shit right now with their investors. They do not need this pain anymore. And, Ava, you were part of the problem. You've lost 3 projects already on there. 1 from the CW, 2 from Netflix. Maybe you should reconsider your projects that you do and concentrate on real good content. But of course, people like her probably don't think like that. They just want to push out a narrative, all the bells and whistles to people to tell them that, hey, America's a bad place to live. It's all racist on there. And the thing is, I tell people, go live in those other countries around the world. You'll be shocked. You'll run back here really darn quick. Take it from other people in the music business, in the Hollywood and all that have discussed this left and right. And they said, listen, stop talking about racism. Respect each other. We should, people use words and says, oh, you're racist when you disagree with the person. If you have an opposing opinion, that's not being racist.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man.
People need to stop that. They need to stop calling people white supremacists and MAGA and all that if they have an opposite opinion. There are those who are on the same Democratic Party or Republican Party that have their opinions, and people say, oh, you're far right, oh, you're far left, you know, but they're not. They have an opposite opinion. Listen to them sometimes. You might learn something. Don't listen to the media, the way they're talking, and you hear it from the media all the time. All these shows that they keep pumping out and stuff like that, it's just a propaganda mill. And it needs to stop. Hell, we got a studio going to be going under construction in New Jersey. And I said this before. There are those in Hollywood right now. There are those in Hollywood that are looking to leave Hollywood because Hollywood has either become too expensive to work there and to live there, or their politics has hurt the industry so much they do not want to be close to those who have been spouting the same rhetoric day in and day out. I told you well over a year ago, Hollywood's moving eastward. And we're seeing it down in the Carolinas, in Atlanta, Georgia. Now we're going to be seeing it in New Jersey. Because they're building a studio production. They just broke ground on a beautiful studio facility they're going to be building there. And that's going to bring a lot of money into New Jersey. A lot of tax dollars. Because they're going to be those who are producing that don't want to deal with the Hollywood elites. And now streaming services are looking twice on certain things. Netflix is the start. Hopefully they'll clean up. Maybe I might come back because I don't subscribe to Netflix anymore. Maybe I'll come back.